That might possibly be the coolest mod or coolest use for an upfitter switch ever right there. Get your truck set up with that and you can have low range and two-wheel drive. Good morning. Today is the day. I have been hinting around for a while. If you've been following my channel at all and watching my other videos on the 22 F350 Ford Super Duty with the 7.3 Godzilla, I've been dropping little hints about a hack that's coming up. Call it a mod, whatever you want. The last video I put up actually spelled out pretty close what we're going to do. Today we're going to use an upfitter switch to disable our automatic locking hubs on the front of the truck, giving us the ability to put the truck in low range and still have two-wheel drive. I'm really excited to make this video for you guys. I hope you've been looking forward to it. Stick around. We're going to get the truck pulled in the shop here and we're going to get to work. Okay, so as stated, today we're going to be tying into an upfitter switch and we're going to run to a relay with a normally closed contact. We're going to use that normally closed contact in series with our electronic solenoid that controls the vacuum to the front hubs. By turning on the upfitter switch, we will energize the solenoid inside the relay. That will open our contact. That'll drop out the power to the solenoid, which will kill the vacuum going to the front hubs. One thing you need to know, when you break the power to that solenoid, if you are in two-wheel drive when you do that and then put the truck in four-wheel drive, you're going to get an error code. If you don't want the error code showing up, you need to put the truck in four-wheel drive first, then activate your bypass relay with your upfitter switch, and you won't get an error. It must get some kind of a feedback signal from that solenoid when it initially goes to enable the vacuum to lock the hubs. But I've played around with it and actually showed it in my previous video when I showed how the hubs work. It won't give you an error code if it's already in four-wheel drive. So first of all, I don't recommend you do this to your truck, okay? If you're not comfortable with messing around with electronics, don't do this. I don't want to be responsible for you messing your truck up. So I'm very comfortable with what I'm about to do. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing to my truck. I'm going to show you the steps and how I do it. If you choose to do this to your own truck, it's on you. One of the benefits to an older four-wheel drive with lockout hubs is you used to be able to leave your hubs unlocked and use low range. Is it something you need very often? No. Is it cool to be able to do it? Yeah, it's cool to be able to throw your transfer in low and not have your front end driving. Now, you are still going to be spinning your front drive shaft. You're going to be spinning your front axles. You're just not tying those front axles to your wheels, so you won't be driving the front end at all. One application where I think this would be really handy is if you're off-roading the truck and you're in low range and you've got to make a tight turn. You know, you get that axle hop and, you know, under certain circumstances, if you've got enough wheel slip and stuff, you're probably not hurting anything. That's a pretty normal thing to get that axle hop. But, you know, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, or maybe you've just reached an area where, you know, you'd like to have low range for the control, but you really don't need four-wheel drive. Well, this will allow you to bypass those hubs. Now, personally, I'm probably going to lock my hubs manually if I'm off-roading real hard anyway, but this would give me the ability, by bypassing that vacuum, to turn my auto hubs into manual hubs, and then I can lock and unlock them manually whenever I want. Now, you could do this very simply. You could come out, I'm going to grab you here and take you over. You could come out under the hood and you could just unplug this once you're in four-wheel drive, and you've essentially done what I just said I'm going to do with an upfitter switch. What I'm going to do is give myself the ability to do this on demand without having to get out of the truck. Another thing you could do is you could take this vacuum line right here that supplies vacuum to the solenoid. You could disconnect this vacuum line right here. You could plug this line and just unhook this one and accomplish the same thing. And if you would prefer to just, make your auto hubs manual, that's a very simple way of doing it, and you're not going to have auto hubs anymore. What I'm going to do is put in a mod that allows me to alter the way the truck functions from the factory, from inside the cab. If my upfitter switch is off, the truck is going to function normally, exactly the way it was designed to function from the factory. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to get into our upfitter switch wiring, identify our switch. So we're going to be using upfitter switch number 4. I have a relay. I'll get out of the box here and show you in a minute. I'll show you where I'm going to mount it. I'll show you how the wire is going to run. I'm going to put a nice piece of wire loom across. So, this is going to look as factory as it can. I don't want it looking like somebody's been in here and just hacked up on the factory wiring. So that's the scope of the work today. That's what we're going to do. We're going to jump right into it. Okay, so you don't need a lot to do this. Now, again, you could do it very simply by just disconnecting your vacuum line. Don't get me wrong. If you want to do this the way I'm doing it, you don't need a lot. You need a relay. This happens to be a True Mods relay. I bought this on Amazon. I'll put it up here so you can see the part number. I zoomed right in for you. So there, hopefully that's focusing. I'll try to put it in the link. I'll put a link to it in the description too, but basically that's it, okay? So the way, and for those of you that understand relays, I'm sorry, this is going to bore you. For someone who doesn't, the way this works is you have your positive and negative that turns the relay on and off. When you turn this relay on and off, you'll notice you got 3 other leads here. One of these is a common. That's going to be the power coming from the truck to the solenoid is going to go to that wire once you've cut it. So you're going to take that hot wire that's going to the vacuum solenoid, you're going to cut it, and you're going to take the power coming in to your common on your relay. These other 2 are normally open and normally closed depending on whether the relay is energized or not. What you want is the normally closed. So you want the circuit that's complete when this relay is off. And that way the truck's going to work just the way it does from the factory. When you flip that upfitter switch, you're going to energize the solenoid in here, which is going to disconnect your normally closed circuit and open it. And that's what's going to drop power out to that solenoid, or to the vacuum solenoid, excuse me. So you need a relay. How I'm doing it, you need a bag of black zip ties. You're going to need some primary wire, and you're going to need a nice chunk of wire loom. They happen to have about 15 feet of it left on the shelf, so I just bought the 15 feet. So my plan is to run my wire loom up here across this plastic cowling kind of on the bottom side. I'm going to drill holes through the plastic. We're not drilling any holes in anything metal. We're going to drill holes in this plastic. We'll zip tie that loom across. That'll get me across here. We'll route that loom down around on this side. We'll route it down to the upfitter switch on the other side. And the rest of it's going to be pretty simple. So when I was looking around under here to find a place to mount this, I decided, you spun around here, you're going to be upside down, but you'll be right side up, I'll be upside down. There just happens to be a little tab right here. Now what that is for, I don't know, but it's going to work out perfect to mount that relay on. So we're going to mount the relay right there on that tab. We could even, put it on there with a zip tie if we wanted, probably get a nut and bolt. And then we just happen to have a chassis ground right here, which is great. So we'll disconnect the battery on the truck while we're working on it, and that way we don't chance messing anything up. We'll take this bolt out, and we will take the negative for our relay and tie it right in there to our ground. So that'll take care of our power and our ground, so that way we only need to run 1 wire over across the truck from the upfitter. The other 2 wires, again, we're going to tie into this circuit right here. So you follow this factory wiring down, and we'll break into it down here somewhere. Okay, so if you have not already located your factory upfitter switch wiring, this is the passenger side of my truck. Again, this is a 22 Super Duty. It varies year to year, I believe. So right underneath this fuse box here, you'll see this bundle of wire down here, right here. You see it's all taped up. This is your upfitter switch wiring. So you have to pull all this tape off. You'll see I've got some wires hooked up to it already. those are already going out to different things. So I've got to take that tape off. I already know which numbers switch number 4 is because I've used 1 through 3. So this tape is like a really heavy cloth tape, fabric tape. So it's not just your cheap average black electrical tape. And I've had mine off a few times now, so when I get to the end of it, I usually have to take some regular electrical tape the end down because it's lost its ability to stick. Switch number 4, brown and gray, is now live. I don't know if you can see that light on right now. I switch it off. See if I can watch it. I can't really see it from here. So it turned off, so yeah. So brown and gray. Brown and gray is the one we want. And then, like I say, good idea to go ahead and disconnect your negative battery terminal whenever you're working on anything electrical, just to be on the safe side. Okay, so I've got it disconnected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw something underneath it between the terminal and the battery terminal and the lug here, so that it can't accidentally touch and reconnect itself. So there we are. We've essentially killed power to the truck. We don't need to worry about the positive. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to disconnect my ground. Okay. So we needed to disconnect that wire so that we can piggyback our ground wire for our relay in there with that. Okay, quick timeout from the video. I've got to ask you guys a favor. Please go down and hit that subscribe button for me. I hate being that guy. I hate throwing that out there on every video. Subscribe. Everybody does it, and I don't know, it just seems so cheesy. I hate doing it. But I'm asking you now, if you're watching my channel and you're getting something out of these videos and you're coming back and you're not subscribed, please do so. And if you're not going to subscribe and there's a reason for it, let me know what it is in the comments. I would like to know what it is I can do better to earn your subscription. The subscription's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. Just hit that subscribe button for me. Hit the notification bell if you want to. Get notified when I put new content up. I'm trying to get better about getting on a schedule with that. But I'm trying to grow the channel and I need the subscribers, guys. So if you're getting something out of these videos, please do me a favor and subscribe. Back to the video. Okay, so it's going to work out real good. Our ground is going to actually be able to just come right up here like this, and we'll be putting this underneath that ground in the truck. I got a couple of different ring lugs here. Looks like that one's going to fit our bolt real nicely. I got a little piece of shrink tube. Strip this just a little bit longer so we can fold it over. A little more meat for that crimp to crimp onto there. There we go. Slide that shrink tube up there. Shrink her down, make her look all pretty. Voila. Almost looks factory. So now I'll need to figure out which set of wires is which here. So according to this, no, 30 is the common. So 30, they are labeled inside of here. 30 is this pin down at the bottom here. plugs in that way. So this one here is 30. So that would be our red. Our red is common. So we'll strip red. And then according to the diagram, 87A would be closed. And I'm not sure if that's shown in the energized state or the de-energized state, so we're going to check it here with a meter in just a second. But if I'm going to guess, let's see here, 87A, this one right in the middle here. So those two, so the middle would be yellow. So let's check that with a meter real quick and find out with it plugged in if that's our closed circuit or not. And for you guys, just to make it simple, we're going to go to tone. Okay, so if we go to red and yellow, we have tone. So that's what we want. We want a closed circuit when there's no power to this relay. Okay, so my next step here is I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes. You'll see I've got some towels laid up here in the engine compartment. That's to catch all the plastic shavings, just so that they're not everywhere when we get done. Now, this isn't a circuit that's going to really draw a lot of power, so one might be tempted to run a really small wire across to here. I would not recommend you run a minimum size wire. In this case, I think I grabbed 16 gauge. I can check the box here and tell you for sure. I take that back. I grabbed 14 gauge. So in the electrical industry, 14 gauge is good for 15 amps. So what we don't want to do is put too small of a wire on here. Not because we're worried about how much it draws, but we're worried about the short circuit current and making sure that if we did have a short, our wire is sized appropriately to carry the current needed to blow the fuse. So we wouldn't want to run like an 18 gauge wire if we run a 15 amp fuse, because the 18 gauge wire probably is going to burn up before the fuse is going to blow. So we got our wire fished through the loom. Did that off camera. Didn't figure I'd bore you guys with that little detail. And we're going to go to our brown with gray. Get that all stripped out here. Now this stuff I like to solder. I don't really care to use butt splices. I prefer a good hard connection, so I typically will solder this stuff. So I'll split my wires apart and then kind of interlock, twist them here. Our old trusty soldering iron here. Let that cool off for a second. Give it a look-see all the way around. The old tug test. Looks like we're good to go. Looks good. All right. Now when we route all this stuff back down kind of where it was, we'll be ready to bring this loom up, kind of tuck it The idea is just to kind of tuck things in and make it so they don't stand out terribly, I guess. It's my thought anyway. You might have another thought. If this is your truck, you might not be as particular as I am. Or maybe you're even more particular than I am. So we can tie around some factory wiring here too to kind of help it blend in a little bit. All right, I'm going to speed this up for you guys because you're going to get really bored watching me put tie wraps on. One of the reasons that it's taken me as long as it has to do this video is I was trying to find a way to do it without cutting into the factory wiring because I didn't like the idea of putting a splice in the wiring. As I started to pull the loom apart on the factory harness, look what I found. Yep, they're spliced right from the factory to that pigtail. So I guess it's not a big deal that I'm gonna put another splice in there. Okay, so we are making connections over here at the relay point. So you can see we've got our factory harness unplugged from the solenoid. I've cut the factory splice out and I've added wire onto the end that goes to the solenoid. The other end I've connected directly from the Ford factory wiring harness up to my common on my relay. So I've got that soldered. I've got this soldered. I'm going to go ahead and get these shrink tubes shrunk down here. Okay, so we have finished tying all of our wire loom back on. Let's get you zoomed out a little bit here so you can see. We've got a nice T down here. We've got our wire loom all routed up to our relay. Our wire loom up here all tie wrapped in all the way across. So the only thing left to do would just be to go button up the other side where all the upfitter switches are. And this install will be done and ready to test. I'm going to go hook the battery back up. So I am going to set you guys over here for a minute. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to clip my microphone right here on this wiring. You should be able to hear that solenoid. We'll try it and see. Okay, so the truck is currently in 4-wheel low. The key is on and the upfitter switch is on. As you can see, I'm turning the tire, but the axle shaft is not moving. Okay, now I'm going to go turn the upfitter switch off. Okay, upfitter switch is off. I heard the vacuum. Now my guess is we're going to turn this tire just a little bit before it locks. You can see right there, our axle shaft is now turning. Both hubs are locked, so I can't turn it any further than that. I have one tire off the ground and one tire on the ground in the front. Both rear tires are on the ground. We're not able to turn this tire freewheel like we would a typical rear-wheel drive open differential because we're locked in four-wheel drive. My parking brake is set and both rear tires are on the ground. All right, we got the garage all picked up. We're going to fire the truck back up here. As you can see, it says advanced track off, four-wheel low, four-wheel drive low. We're in four-wheel low here. That's definitely low range, and you'll see there that says second gear. I showed that in one of my other videos, so anytime you're in four-wheel low, it's going to start out in second and it tops out in seventh. So we're going to go for a quick drive here. Try to hold you guys as still as I can, but we're definitely in low range. It does skip shift too in low range, I found. If you accelerate hard enough, it'll skip from third to fifth. I'll see if I can get it to do it here. Right there, it just did it. So we're in fifth gear now. We went from third to fifth. Now we're in sixth and seventh. And it's driving, you know, other than obviously the higher RPMs and, you know, the lunginess of four low, it is driving like it's in two-wheel drive. We're turning a nice sharp turn into this guy's driveway here. No front end bind. Back to reverse. Back out. No bind there. Off we go. So there you have it. That might possibly be the coolest mod or coolest use for an upfitter switch ever right there. Get your truck set up with that and you can have low range and two-wheel drive. How fun is that? Don't know when I'll use it, but I'm sure I'll find a reason. So just remember, if you do this mod, you have to put it in four-wheel drive first, then turn on your upfitter switch. If you do it the other way around, you're going to get a error code. If you're still watching, thanks for sticking around to the end. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you found the information helpful as always. And hey, thanks for watching.